Well, welcome everybody, and I apologize for I think Mr. Crest giving me the last minute to start earlier. I think that sounded bad. The court will come to order. Quorum present, all legal notices have been duly posted. Everyone is in attendance. Is there a motion to open court?
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Available open court.
Please rise. Dallas County Commissioners Court is now in session for the September 2011 term with the Honorable Clay Lewis Jenkins presiding. Please remain standing for the invocation.
Our invocation today will be written by guest Commissioner Price.
Judge, Commissioners, this morning we're very pleased to have with us Ms. Christine Melton Crane. Born and raised in Dallas, attended Kimball High School, earned a bachelor's degree in government from the University of Texas, and her Juris Doctorate from Oklahoma City University School of Law. She's a member of the Park Cities Baptist Church. She is the co-founder and the board chairman of the nonprofit called DOORS, Dallas One-Stop Optimized Reentry System. She's the former president of the Dallas Bar Association, the immediate former first female chair of the Texas Board of Criminal Justice. After 8 years of hard working and governing boards in Texas prison system, was voted unanimously honoring her to rename the Gatesville lockup for women after Christine Melton Crane. The Gatesville unit is one of Texas' primary women's prisons. It holds over 1,500 offenders. And during her tenure on the board as a member in 2001 and as chair 2 years later, Christine championed a new program for women offenders as an outspoken advocate for rehabilitation and treatment programs. Her community involvement includes service on the board of directors for the Baylor Healthcare System Foundation, leadership roles with the Junior League of Dallas, and service on the board of directors of Big Brothers and Big Sisters of North Texas. She was also elected to the Texas X Council of the University of Texas as an at-large member. She's co-founder of one of my favorite programs, the Amanchi Texas Mentoring Program, which was recognized in 2008 by Oprah Winfrey for her work. She's also served on the Texas Supreme Court Advisory Committee, the Texas Public Transportation Advisory Committee, the UT College of Liberal Arts Foundation, the Dallas Bar Association, and the Texas Lawyers for Children. Her professional honors, she was a recipient of the DBA Joanna Moreland Outstanding Committee Chair. She's the Dallas Association of Young Lawyers Award of Excellence 2007 as an Outstanding Director Award. She's also received the Louise Raggio Award for Dallas Women Lawyers. She's been twice named by the Dallas Business Journal for 40 and under lawyers who contribute all this time and the recipient of so many other awards. She's received a silver U.S. Congressional Medal of Honor for volunteerism, and she can sing. She is trained to sing commercial jingle, voiceovers, and I can go on and on. She's married to Nate Crane, but probably her real claim to fame is she is the daughter of that famous treasurer, the Dallas County Bill Melton. With that being said, Christine, thank you for being here with us today. Will you indicate?
Yes, sir. Commissioner, thank you for inviting me to be here today. And Judge, other commissioners, thank you. It's an honor to be before you today. I think as I was thinking about today's invocation, I couldn't help but think about 9/11. And just a couple days after, I felt like it was appropriate to think about, especially having worked in the prison system for so long now, and continuing the work with offenders coming out of prison, that the freedoms that we are given by God, that so many people take advantage of, are what we're trying to instill in them so that they don't reoffend, that they're given a second chance and they have the opportunity to move forward with their lives and make sure that they take advantage of the freedoms that God has given them. And I would like to just take a moment of silence for all those who perished in 9/11, their families, and the victims and those who continue to have sorrow and grief because of their loss 10 years ago. Feel free to join me in singing the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
From God's focus home.
Well, welcome to the Dallas County Commissioners Court. We'll be sitting on Virginia, recess for a formal work session, getting ready to speakers, go to closed session, and any matters, matters if any in the closed session, we'll be rolling on the session and session. Today we have 3 resolutions. The first 2 of Commissioner Price.
Judge, if the court will permit the first resolution, we're going to postpone the next Tuesday, and therefore I would ask the National Preparedness Month participants, along with Mr. Thompson, to come forward. As Ms. Melton Crane just talked about, these are the guys who are on the front line. And we talk about the jail and 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. This is another part of the organization that is basically on that kind of time slot. I've only known one day in probably the last 9-10 years that they have not been there. That was the ice day. If they were there, the people couldn't get the product to them. And so they are there every day. They've gone in and done a remarkable job. And so I just want to take this time to acknowledge them. It says, whereas President Barack Obama has issued a proclamation of his dedication to implementing a whole community, the approach to disaster response as preparedness is a shared responsibility. And whereas the Dallas-Fort Worth BioWatch Lab commenced in 2003 in response to the 2001 anthrax mailing, when the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the Office of Health Affairs, the Weapons of Mass Destruction and Biodefense Office initiated the BioWatch program to provide early detection against an intentional release of aerosolized biological agents. And whereas Dallas County Health and Human Services has maintained a state-of-the-art laboratory with capabilities of laboratory response networks for clinical, environmental, and food specimens, and in 2001 initiated the Public Health Preparedness Lab for biological testing and public health preparedness on a 24/7, 365 days a year basis. And whereas the Dallas County Health and Human Services Level 3 laboratory was approved by the Food and Drug Administration to detect human infected with the avian influenza AH5 virus, commonly referred to as the bird flu, and as well as tests for the foodborne agents such as Salmonella and E. coli. And whereas the goal of the Dallas County Health and Human Services is to equip our families and communities to be resilient through hardships and respond to the adversity in the same way America always has, continuing the task of keeping our county strong and safe. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court, in commemoration of the 10th anniversary of the tragic events of September 11th, 2001, and in collaboration with President Barack Obama and his approach to disaster response, does hereby recognize the Dallas County Health and Human Services and the Dallas County Health and Human Services Laboratory for public health emergency preparedness efforts and contribution, and does hereby proclaim September 2011 as National Preparedness Month in Dallas County, and urges all Dallas County residents to recognize the importance of preparedness and observe this month by working together to enhance security, resilience, and readiness. That's so moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Thompson, and while he's coming forward, and I'm extremely proud of this group, I was telling him on yesterday that the famous muffins case, that some people's, I guess, digestive system couldn't quite take on the ingredients. I think that was out of your history. Like how if kids served up some muffins.
Yeah,
muffins. Well, it's my understanding that nationally, and even Dr. Phil, they use that case now as a demonstration. Can these guys. So, Mr. Thompson, I just want you to introduce and thank all.
Well, Judge and Commissioners, I want to discuss two things. One, I brought before our communicable disease staff, and I said they were the backbone of the health department. But the laboratory is the heartbeat of our activities. From 2001, after the tragic incident in New York, public health went to a different level in terms of preparedness. And one of the areas that we enhanced our activity was in our laboratory. We moved from just testing STDs, TB, testing in the lab, to where we're a full level 3 lab that's testing for biological agents. I wanted the staff here to be recognized because they do work 24/7. When we are asleep, they are receiving samples coming in and testing those samples, getting confirmation information back to us to determine whether those samples are positive or negative. I really want each one to come up and just say their name and who they're with as part of Dallas County Health and Human Services. And the first person I want to come up, and I'll just say his name is Dr. Bannister. He was on the ground after 9/11 when no other lab, I want to be very clear, in the North Texas area, all the way down to Tyler, that could not perform the test needed when we were getting the anthrax letters. Those letters were coming to Dallas County Health and Human Services. So I'd like each staff just to come up and say their name. Dr. Stokes, Dr. Bannister.
My name is Edward Bannister. I'm director of the laboratory.
My name is Lieutenant Commander Erica Murray. I'm a commissioned officer with the United States Public Health Service, and I'm stationed to work in the BioWatch lab.
My name is Lara J. I'm a microbiologist with the BT lab.
My name is Joey Stringer. I'm the supervisor in the laboratory. My name is Stuart Seaman, and I'm the lead biological scientist for the BioWatch lab.
Some of them I didn't recognize without the lab coats and all of that paraphernalia on Wisconsin.
Well, I want to be clear, the process is that you have a collaborative effort from the federal government to the local government involved in detection activities. I won't go into a lot of information since we're videotaping now, but I'll leave it at that, is that you're in good hands with the staff that are behind me, and I really want to commend them for the Saturdays and Sundays and the nights that they come in and make sure Dallas County is safe.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Zach, I commend you all for the hard work you do. And forgive me if I'm a little bit confused, but I know we also have a Department of Emergency Preparedness, which is supposed to be the department on the front lines in case we have a disaster. So I would just like to have your comments on how you all interface with our Department of Emergency Preparedness, and do you all communicate with them on a regular basis?
Yeah, since 9/11, and the number of directors that even been in that role, we've always communicated, starting with Danny Chandler to now. If there is a confirmation of a positive result, we basically notify all parties involved.
So you notified, do you all have regular meetings so that you can coordinate your efforts?
That's a different process we can discuss offline. That process in terms of our lab is done in a mechanism that if there is a agent that needs to be notified to other individuals, we will make that determination.
Mr. Thompson, even though since 9/11, as you said one time, I think from Amarillo all the way to Tyler, you guys are the only town. Since then, I think there's been some other appropriations, but you're still getting the lion's share of the work.
Well, I think what you look at in terms of the BioWatch is that I believe Dallas, and we get samples from Fort Worth as well. So we basically, because of the staff that you have here and our laboratory, it recognizes the competent staff that we have and our ability to be able to respond to the testing of those samples. So that's a test.
They have their own lab since.
Well, yeah, but just in terms of BioWatch, this process is done at our lab.
Well, I just still want to understand when we continue to talk about what goes on in Dallas County, we have some regional impact. There's a lot of reliance, like you said, on this staff, the competency of this staff. And the way you have retrofitted, while others were looking for dollars for facilities and all, the way you've taken that building and retrofitted and made it accommodated. It's a little cramped, but
we wanted to get something else, but that's all the money they had.
But let me just say that I'm a little bit concerned that you all just notify emergency preparedness, because you by yourself are not in charge of emergency preparedness. It's something that needs to be an integrated effort. And just to...
No, let me be real clear. The process is not done that way. There is a call down responsibility that involves every major entity in Dallas County and in the region, and at the appropriate time that is done. So I don't want to give a misinformation that that's not done. There is a protocol that is followed, and everyone behind us understands the protocol. I just don't want to get into a lot of detail about this situation.
Because it could be secret.
no, it couldn't.
It just could be. Can we come to, if nothing else, can we come up and take a photo? That's not secret.
Thank you.
Let's see if they got a settle.
Last resolution.
No, so maybe it's a large one.
That was the last resolution. council on our Texas 2-1 runs. Is anyone here on the 2-1 system? Please come forward. And that resolution, and I know one person is here, Zach. Well, Lisa, there's Lisa right there. We just keep it on top of you there. As Commissioner Price said, this is emergency preparedness month, and we're fortunate to have a lot of hardworking people working to keep us safe. Whereas 211 Texas, formerly known as First Call for Help, is a program of the Texas Health and Human Services Commission, serves as a state dialing code for residents to receive free bilingual information. Whereas when a resident calls into 211, certified specialists who are trained in disaster preparedness and crisis intervention provide information related to emergency preparedness, health and human services, and help residents through supporting community organizations. Whereas 211 Texas also provides a voluntary registry for those who may need assistance during an emergency or natural disaster. It sends that information to local offices in emergency management so they can assist with transportation and medical health care needs. And whereas 211 Texas is currently assisting those who have been affected by wildfires, providing evacuation, road closure notices, and alerting residents to shelter locations. And whereas as a partner of the Dallas County Offices of Homeland Security and Emergency Management and Health and Human Services, 211 Texas works closely with all of our emergency personnel and is a founding member of the Dallas County Voluntary Organizations Active in Disaster, VOAD. And now therefore be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court is hereby recognized 211 Texas as an integral partner and valuable resource for Dallas County and its residents during National Preparedness Month 2011. And I move for its adoption. All those in
And I
favor?
second that motion.
Okay, I got 2 seconds, and all those in favor? Aye. All right, well, please introduce yourselves and say a few words if you like.
I'm Debbie Thornton. I'm the director of 211 and have been director since 2002 when we started it here in Dallas. This is LaShonda Denson. I'm actually retiring at the end of this month. She will be the new director. I want to thank you, Judge, and Commissioners for this honor. We're so pleased that we're finally recognized as part of the emergency disaster preparedness team here in Dallas. LaShonda's going to say a few words.
Again, just to piggyback up what Debbie said, we are so honored. 211 became an integrated part of disaster response right after 9/11, and the response to disaster, dealing with everything from local flooding to wildfires, has been a major role for us to step up, and we have taken it with pride. And we just ask that you continue to support us. And thank you.
Thank you. We will now consider our consent agenda. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously. All right, item S, public hearing on the county clerk and district clerk's annual written plan for planning and building. Moved over.
Second.
Discussion and action. Moved over. Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. I'll start. If you have additional questions, John Warren's here. This is the public hearing related to the archive fee, as we refer to it. It's a $5 fee that's charged on the civil filings in Dallas County. It has been advertised in the newspaper. It's been posted according to state law. The plans have been provided to Virginia Porter, and she has certified the plans. This is about the 5th or 6th year that we've been doing this. It's a requirement every year that we have a public hearing.
I would ask either if the county clerk, Mr. Warren, or Mr. Fitzsimmons, the district clerk, would have anything additional they want to add to this.
No, I think both Gary and I lay out our plans. It goes into detail of everything that we're trying to accomplish.
We'll be focusing on minute books this week.
Focusing on
minute books, criminal minute books.
Any speakers? Any speakers?
Hold on. Got someone over here.
Someone.
Hello. I came here today. I'm going to have to ramble for just a minute, but I will make a point, I promise. I'm an older person. I remember back in the day when a bunch of pugnacious businessmen came along and started complaining about how long the lines were at the voting booths on election day. These people went to the politicians, got the politicians to agree to screen all the African Americans, and once they got permission to screen them for literacy, 100% failed, including professors from Harvard University flown down by the NAACP, also failed the literacy test. Here in Dallas, all of the courts, the judges have gotten together and decided not to allow anybody poor access to justice. What they are doing is they've gotten permission to screen every indigent person.
Ma'am, can I just ask you, ma'am?
Yes.
Over here. This is about the district, this is our court administrator. He's asking you about comments on the district. What's your name?
My name is Crystal Campbell.
Okay, Ms. Campbell, that particular aspect of the document hasn't been opened yet. This is strictly about the district clerk and the county clerk's plan.
Okay. Will I speak later?
We'll get you a second. So, Judge, here, there's no other, for the third call, there's no other speakers with regards to the district clerk and the county clerk plan with regard to a written plan regarding the preservation, restoration, and redaction of the respective record archives. I move that we close the hearing.
All those in favor? Next, we'll consider court orders 10 to 40.
10 is the award of bids, Judge, and I'll move it. I'll move it.
Second.
Okay. Is Mr. Pitt, please? Brian, no, Mr. Franklin, yes. Come forward. The cost of printing these ballots, I see that, yes, it was the award out of 200. I think I saw 231 potential bids that you guys sent out. It's strictly about printing. Right. So that's the reason you have such a universe. I saw 11 and had probably basically no response, and I can't remember all the numbers. But nonetheless, this bid came in at about $5 million. Okay. That's correct. Is that up or down, given the historical?
I mean, that's kind of in line with what's previously priced. It's no really nothing unusual, but I guess in regards to this particular this bid, it was added a 30-day cure instead of a 10-day for the audio ballot, just because it would give us more time to, if there are any problems. That's why it was added into the original bid.
But it gives you, the elections department, or we give them?
It would give them enough time to, right, 30 days more than the actual 10-day that it was originally in there. So it gives them a little bit more time to rectify any things.
And you are okay with that?
Yes.
Thank you. That being said, then call the question on the award bids. Yes. Also call.
All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Probably a mouthful of chocolate there. Thank you, Dr. Pepe, if you're out there for this delicious chocolate.
It's emergency chocolate.
It's emergency chocolate. We don't have consider items 1 to 23.
Full Court Order 24 for separate,
And I would, Judge, this is the third week in a row that this court order has been pulled. And this is simply, this court order is just a ministerial court order. It's to approve the Texas Healthcare, Central Texas to be designated as an entity to operate the three-share plan. What this does simply, and I didn't approve it to begin with because it was ministerial, and I'm sorry if the court expected that. Since then, we have not only briefed it, but we have had a raft of questions from one of the commissioners, and we have answered all of those questions.
no, you haven't.
And I think it's time to vote on this and not continue all of this questioning. Mr. Steves, who is in charge of the Dallas, North Texas three-share plan, which is low-cost health insurance for the working poor. Otherwise, they go to Parkland. This gives some reimbursement for it. Mr. Steves has been here for numerous meetings. Mr. Lee Rodriguez, who is the head of the Central Texas Healthcare, has driven up from Austin several times because of these repeated questions. It's gone on and on and on. And frankly, I would object to pulling it once again because we're really, it's gotten to the point of from the sublime to the ridiculous. We just...
Well, I don't know what you're trying to hide. Look, the fact is that we asked staff did staff prepare some additional briefing as requested last week?
Staff has reviewed the briefing that was prepared by the Woodbridge District 1. I provided additional questions that came through on an email. I have conveyed those questions back to Commissioner's Court. I've seen additional information come forward from Commissioner Price's office as it relates to some tax forms, and that has also been conveyed, I believe, to everybody. So the information is out there. There may be additional questions based on that information that's been provided, but the majority of the information is there.
Well, according to your briefing, of course, we don't have a motion on the floor. I call it for the code, but if you want to discuss it now.
I would submit that we, after 3 weeks of question after question,
and we give a second vote.
that we not pull it and that we just vote on it. Every member of this court has had numerous.
And the vote on the second.
Well, you're one vote.
That's correct. That's the reason that you're chair.
I'll second voting on this separately. I think it is 2 separate questions at this point. The question of moving forward on a health plan that has the opportunity to insure up to 150,000 people that work at small businesses. We received all the information on that from the other members of the share, but we have not received the information, I think, from the Commissioner on Insurance. Is that right? Or
no, we got testimony last week that the Texas Department of Insurance wanted us to. I have not seen it, and I asked for it.
And on the other issue, I just received, is Mr. Speeds here?
Mr. Speeds had a family emergency.
We'll wait till he gets to his emergency and bring it back.
Mr. Rodriguez is signed up on that.
And Mr. Rodriguez, I talked to him last night, and he wasn't able to come today. But he's been here the last 2 times, and this does 2 things. And we talked ministerial, it does 2 things. One is that there are 13 lives that are covered by low-cost health insurance in Dallas County under this plan that would continue their coverage with no ranking coverage. And the second thing is it would transfer the balance of this particular grant, and that's what we're talking about, which was $800,000. It would send the balance of that grant back to the 3-share plan in Harlem, Texas, in Austin, so that it can be used for that purpose. Otherwise, these funds will go back to the insurance, Department of Insurance, and they will be lost.
The fact of the matter is,
people that don't qualify at Parkland because people who earn over 200% of poverty, but they're still poor people and they can't afford your usual health care insurance.
Well, the fact of the matter is, we're talking about having spent $300,000 for 21 people at one time and 13 at the other. According to your memo, Ryan, you said that this North Texas Underinsured Healthcare Coalition, which received $900,000, who has spent $300,000, and most of it has been spent for salaries and so-called promotions. And so I asked for that. I have not seen who they spent it with. That's number one. Number two, according to your deal, they moved out. They were housed at Road and Bridge District Number 1. And they moved out March the 10th. Well, I got 2990 EZ forms, shows that occupancy, rent, utilities, maintenance was paid in 2008 of over $5,000. I show $16,000 in travel and office. Then I turn around and then I'm showing the next year, 2009, I don't have the 10 yet. I'm showing $34,000 in travel, almost $4,000 in rent, utility, and maintenance. I wonder what they're trying to hide. So, I mean, my position is, what is, did they move out in 2010? They were out there getting a $1 a year leave? Where does all of this come from?
Let me say that this is state money, this is not county money. And they
now we hear the difference. I thought the satellite money was that county money? All of a sudden, I just want to know what you're trying to hide. Either we got the March 10th and they moved out March 10th, 2010, and I've got some saying that they're paying rent elsewhere. Of the $300,000, 1/3 of the $900,000 has been basically for salaries and advertising. Some advertising as much as almost $50,000.
Now, let me say that the advertising was for small businesses which can't afford health care for their employees. These are businesses that have 5 or less employees. And as somebody who's been involved with a lot of barbecue stands that have 5 or less employees, I can tell you that we can't afford a health care plan. This plan provides health care for those folks. When they left, we grew it at Road and Bridge because I had an extra office. It's now occupied by the Auto Service Center, which needed a relocation. But when they left, they were provided space in an office building owned by Parkland.
In 2008, according to you, Ryan, they didn't move out until 2010.
I don't see your point, but the point is.
Excuse me, y'all, you don't see my point. My point is $5,000 in rental expense in 2008. I'm showing a contract with Dallas County for $1 in 2008. Is that correct?
That was the original contract.
Okay.
When they moved out, I was provided a March 2010 date.
Okay.
I did not get any response back, nor have I actually requested any information as it relates to why there was rent and utilities on a 2008 and 2009 IRS tax form for the program.
Commissioner, you can pick this to death, and this has risen to the level of harassment. But I will say to the people here, not only are we not hiding something, we're trying to make things better for the working poor here in Dallas County that don't have a health plan. And you, Commissioner, with your district, would want this health plan. Parkland isn't free. Everybody thinks it is, but it's not. And we have people that are over the minimum at Parkland. Parkland is 200% of poverty or below. But you get people who are just over that threshold, and they don't qualify for Parkland, and they can't afford health insurance.
They spent most of this money on salaries and advertising. It wasn't any different. We talked about covering the 13 of the 21 people at the maximum of the program. 21 people, is that correct? Is that true?
I think you're trying to...
No, I'm talking budget. Was it 21 people at the maximum?
The maximum covered life was the 21 people.
Okay, and now we're talking about 13.
And we have.
And most of this money, according to both this and your memo, went for salaries and advertising. Is that correct?
Well, that's really all that we have to sell as a service of health insurance. You have to get the word out to small employers, which is the basic most work. You also have the same administrative costs as if you were successful or not. In this case, the program wasn't successful for a number of reasons. Mostly that we couldn't get participation from the other hospitals, and people, small employers perceive Parkland to be free, which it really isn't. But Central Texas, located in Austin, has a free-share program that has managed, since they don't have a public hospital, they have managed to sell this program to all of the hospitals. So people have choice and they're able to have a medical home. We want this money to be well used and not go back to the...
So in addition to the 2000, 2009, 2008, 2009, $50,000. This is a local program.
It's going to cost...
$50,000. Travel.
This,
50,000 travel. That's not the advertising.
This, of course, is
That's
set
the
up,
travel.
and this is the interstate travel that was set up through the three-share plan and the state funding that came for this grant. So I ask that we, obviously we tried, whether you are successful or whether you're not successful, to set up a program like this costs money. You have to have employees. Unfortunately, for the reasons I mentioned, it wasn't successful. We want to be sure that that money goes to the right place and helps the right people.
If we'd heard this 3 years ago, we could have saved $300,000.
Yes, and we could never have tried anything. You know, there's an old saying that better to have tried and lost than never to have tried at all. Well, I really wanted to see low-cost health insurance. I still think it's a workable thing. Certainly, the Heart of Texas, the Austin program, has shown that it is a workable thing. They're going to grow it up here with the help of the balance of this grant. We only want the best for the people who need this low-cost insurance. We couldn't provide it here. It still costs money. We still had to have an office to do it. We tried it.
The office was free. The office was free, but according to this, you just spent another $10,000. You spent $10,000. You spent $45,000 on marketing and outreach. You spent $50,000 for travel. And
this is a cooperative program. That is, there are 5 three-share plans throughout the state of Texas that demanded that we have constant integration and conferring with the others, because these were all set up at once. Also, this was approved through the legislature. And of course, that took lots of trips to Austin. There was a lot of interstate travel involved in setting this up, not just in Dallas. If it had only been Dallas, if Don Spees had been operating in a vacuum, there wouldn't have been any travel other than the travel to see small employees all over the Dallas County. But the fact is that this is a pilot program that's in Galveston, El Paso, Austin, East Texas, and North Texas. And it's an integrated effort so that every hand knew what the other hand was doing. It was set up together.
Well, I totally understand what you're at this point. However, I just got this information. I would like to have some time to review it. I understand Commissioner Price has not get all the information that he has requested. I will support you fully for the last time and will be voting. I'll be ready to vote next week.
And Commissioner Cantrell,
well, just one question, Commissioner Dickey. Have you talked to Mr. Speeds about the grant for 2008, 2009? Have you asked him why he put that on the income tax short form?
No, I haven't, but I will ask him.
here's what I would ask. I will take it upon myself to call the Commissioner of Insurance in the state of Texas and get the last piece. And here's where I am on this. Having visited with Mr. Rodriguez, people in the insurance industry, people with the state, I'm satisfied that the move that is being suggested is the correct move forward. I also ask, when I first met with Mr. Spees, I did not understand that state money was involved and that we had voted in 2000. This court had voted in 2000, I guess, in 7, to allow him to access state money. Nothing wrong with allowing that access, but I do think we have a stewardship responsibility with any monies that we're responsible for managing or granting someone the opportunity to use. I requested also that we look at this, and I would request if you could ask him or whoever, Virginia, perhaps you could ask him. I'd like for him to voluntarily turn over the 2010 income taxes as well. And I'd like to ask Virginia for you to work with him to get answers to where this money went, because we have really two questions here. What's the best way to go forward to insure our people, and what happened to the money that has been spent thus far? And I think it's just a matter of good stewardship and good government that we account for what happened to those hundreds of thousands of dollars that were spent so far.
Okay. May I speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Judge, I think you make a very good point, because of course we are accountable for state money. It's our stewardship of it, even though it isn't directly our money. And for that same reason, I would ask that we do an audit of Waywise that provided the emergency preparedness equipment since 2003. I asked for a copy of the emergency preparedness plan last week, and I'm sorry to say I got all kinds of pushback I wanted to see what the 2003-2004 plan was. I asked for that 3 weeks ago. It's interesting that all of this pushback came after I asked about that plan. I don't know if there's a connection there or not, but as long as we are going to be good stewards, let's talk about much more money that was spent from 2003 to 2010. I think we need an audit trail of that money, and also I would like to request seeing the product of the 2003-2004 emergency preparedness plan that we paid over $600,000 for in the package.
That does sound like. Is this something under? And what you're asking for on 2003, 2004? It's not. Well, not on the agenda, but is that something under my purview with Homeland Security? Because I received something.
It would be under your purview, and I did ask.
Okay, sorry. Let's talk. Maureen, let's talk about that offline.
The only reason I think it's online is that when we talk about our stewardship of state funds, let's also talk about that it was an extension of that conversation.
I'm going to rule with that. I'm happy for you to put that on the agenda for next week. I'd like to, if it's anything under my purview, we have to put that on the agenda before we talk about it in public. That's going to be my ruling on that. But on this, I'm not accusing anyone of wrongdoing. But I think this merits further review. And Virginia, would you be the person that can look into that for us and give them Mr. Speaks?
Yes, I think I can work with the budget office to do it if they've already answered several questions.
All right, and then with me, I will contact it. It may be that the Department of Insurance is reluctant to put something in writing, picking one provider over the other, but I'll contact and endeavor to have a one-on-one phone call with the commissioner. Does that satisfy everybody for this week? Are you ready to move to
It's my understanding that the director is going to decide where that money goes. It's not us.
That's right. Yeah, the Department of Insurance decides where the money goes. Commissioner Dickey's point is that if we choose to not have a 3-share program, none of that money can come to Dallas County.
It's not a choice. They can't operate anymore, so they would like for the money to go to the lease of good instead of back to the department.
So,
Well, one of two things. Now, either the people here are going to be covered through the North Central Texas, North Central Coalition plan, and they're going to transfer the money in. Of the $3 million that was appropriated by the Texas Department of Insurance, $900,000 went to Dallas County. Is that correct? And $900,000 went to Central Texas. They got the lion's share of money. Is that correct?
I believe that's how the coalition broke it apart. Because I believe the money actually went to the coalition, and then they allocated it back out.
That's right. It's a cooperative coalition all over the state. So they decide together how the money's used.
But we were told here that the Texas Department of Insurance Commissioner wanted the money to go to the Texas Coalition. Central Texas, is that correct? Is that what that's testimony?
That was mentioned in testimony.
We have received a letter from the coalition saying this is the partner they want to do this, to take over this area. Central Texas is the partner they want to take over this area. I like the idea that our people can go to Methodist or Baylor or other hospitals.
All 13.
And hopefully we'll get a larger, obviously, hopefully we'll get a larger enrollment than 13 people when and if we do that.
And they feel that when there is a choice of hospitals, that there will be a lot more people.
Well, with the understanding, I will contact the insurance commissioner. Of course, I too would like to vote on the investigation of the past may take longer than a week, but they're two really separate things in my mind. I would like to get the information from the insurance commissioner on a go-forward basis, get that voted out one way or the other next week. If the investigation takes longer, again, it's a separate thing. It's a stewardship question about the past, not a question about how to insure people in the future. But I think it is an important stewardship question about the past in light of some of the questions that have been raised. Right? Is that satisfactory on that, everyone? All right, so where's that go? Do we have a discussion on, somebody want to discuss 17?
First of all, we haven't got a motion. She just started talking and you didn't get it. So, the court order, that one through 30, through 40, I'm sorry. And I'll include 40, all the way up to 44 on that. 43, I'm sorry. Now through 43, pulling court order 24.
So you put the 81 and also
And they're only 12.
I'm 22.
But you wouldn't vote no on it. Yeah, I'm just voting no. 24. 24 is the only one that's I got a motion on the second.
And discussion on 17?
Yes. I would like to ask Mr. Franklin Monroe to come to the podium, please, with the district attorney's office.
He's got his number.
Well, there was a Franklin Pierce as the president.
On agenda item number 17, we discussed last time about the nepotism policy.
Yes.
And I have the opportunity, I want to thank the district attorney's office and of course Dr. Taylor's office for the information about the policy. So I understand that this position is not going to be hired, it's a contract position by the county. They do not fall under any of the benefits from the county. They will not be responding to the VA or to
The individual will report.
the PIO, and then they can be terminated at any point.
To the contract, Ken, yes.
So therefore, this, in the specific position does not fall under the nepotism policy.
That's correct.
Just wanted to do that on the record, and I will be supporting.
And Lincoln, I just want to say that about 17, 18, and 19, that I will be voting no on those, not as any disservice to our DA, but simply because I don't think that our county can afford that with this time financially.
Yeah, just showing me voting no on 17 and 18. My reason is a little bit different in that I think it sets up a bad precedent. We have positions, legal positions that are not banded, they're not established where you have the qualifications, and there's probably not an elected official in Dallas County that would like to have that type of staff in their office to do that type of deal for their public relations. So for those purposes, I'm going to vote no on 17 and 18. I wouldn't vote yes on that.
And excuse me, but I will be voting no on 19, since that kind of.
Anyone else? I will be voting yes on all of them, but I'd like to take this opportunity to ask staff to look at our nepotism policy. As I understand it, and by the way, I'm in favor of the nepotism policy, and when given the opportunity to enforce it, I will. But as I understand it, I do not have the authority to enforce the nepotism policy. This court doesn't have the authority to enforce the nepotism policy on constitutionally elected officers. Is that correct? In other words, if an elected official wants to hire his entire family to be his staff, there's not anything I can do about that legally. Isn't that true?
Judge, I think double check that, because the question becomes, as a county, you have the right to set the minimum qualifications for employees. That if the employee in question, whether he works for a separate elected official, meets the minimum qualifications, then it's up to that elected official to hire a person. So the question becomes, the nepotism policy that state law that you have adopted in county, is that part of the minimum requirements that an employee has to meet before he or she's hired? Therefore, I'll double check to see whether or not the AG's office has answered the question before, or whether there's any case law that has answered the question.
Because if we can enforce it as to department heads, but not as to elected officials, it seems to me pretty superfluous that we continue to have to, and it's been my understanding in the past from discussions, that we don't have the authority, push has to stop people from doing that. So if that is the case, why bring forth these I realize this is not in the strictest sense a nepotism waiver, because it's a part-time employee and that doesn't fall in our policy. But why bring this forward if we have no choice but to grant the exception because they're constitutionally elected officers? It looks like we're not following our own policy when I don't have the ability to follow the policy legally. So,
Judge,
I'll start bringing forth those folks if I can't do anything but grant the exception.
I'll bring something back in the court next week as to whether you have the authority to say yes or no.
Judge, that's my argument, that this position hadn't been banded and classified and those minimum requirements established.
Well, Judge, as Lincoln said, this doesn't apply because the individuals being hired are not employees of outside, being independent contractors, so this is not a nepotism issue.
Exactly. And that should be also in the policy. So I will support, to review the policy, but at this point, the only reason I have been voting against every single exception because it has fallen under the nepotism policy. This one doesn't. But I totally agree with my colleagues that if you have a policy, we should follow it.
Regarding 419, I do want to make it clear that this position in the DA's office is not coming out of the general fund. Right. This is a combination between public works and the tax office. Right. And those funding sources from them will be providing for this, and it will help us deal with the unit domain problems that issues that we're having, as well as moving contracts through on the public works projects up here.
And with all due respect to my colleague, he makes a good point. This doesn't come out of the general fund. But, and I thought about that. But this is still public money. And when we have this job and that job that come out of this fund and that fund, then suddenly you've got a situation where you have a lot of funds that really aren't answerable to the Commissioners Court and to the process. So I have a problem.
Well, let's make sure everybody understands, this money runs through the county till the auditor audits it when there is accountability. For anyone to think that there's not accountability is sorry.
And I don't think anyone said this, but this week, but the two $24,000, maximum $24,000 contracts are being covered from the general fund. However, that money from the general fund that would have been used to buy necessary equipment for the sheriff is being the exact same amount of money. That's over $48,000, and it could actually be more if they don't use all $24,000 for the contracts. Is coming from the DA's hot check or forfeiture, one or the other?
In this case, forfeiture.
Forfeiture funds to the sheriff's department. So at worst, it is a wash, so to speak, a zero impact. At best, the general fund will get a slight amount of money. You simply don't use 24 on both contracts. And frankly, that is a big part of why you're getting my vote. So, any further discussion on this, or shall we vote at this point? Call the question. All right.
Having come to try to, is that right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did we pull out the discussion as well? No.
Show me is voting no on 22.
Okay.
That's the amendment That's the amendment you said that needs to be in our car lines.
Okay. So call the question. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed?
Nay to 17, 18, 19, and 22.
Nay to 22.
On my bill, maybe 17.
All right. Did you get all that? That being the case, all orders passed. All right, that takes us to, I think we can fix it to everything in the
Morning, Judge Commissioners. Item 1 on the briefing agenda, Health and Human Services. 1A, recommended approval of Department of State Health Services contract, TB State African American Project. Item 1B, recommended approval of the local health services agreement with the cities listed in the briefing. Also authorizing a fee schedule included in the briefing. Item 1C, recommended approval between the county and the city of Garland. And 1D, recommended approval of an agreement with Dallas Metro Fair Services. Item 2, Road and Bridge 1, that order item was discussed. Item 3, Human Resources Civil Service recommends approval of the non-smoking discount program and guidelines for 2012. Item 3B recommends approval of the medical program approval rates for retirees. Yes, sir.
Let's go back and talk about
smokers.
Yeah, I mean,
non-smokers.
We're getting a lot of emails on that, so we might as well debate that because, there's a lot of people saying, why is drinking included? Why is it weight included? Drugs included? Those kinds of things. So, I'll refer to PGC members and did PGC support this? Did they vote on it?
We did.
Okay.
If I could, since I'm a PEBC member that was present at that meeting, here's the thought. You are correct. There are many things that affect health. And you pointed out two of them. Alcohol use to excess. There is evidence that studies that perhaps a glass or two of wine is not only not harmful but it's beneficial to adults, but weight is something that there is some corollaries to disease. what we've done though is according to the CDC, smoking is the biggest cause of an uptick in health costs. It's the biggest cause of disability. It's the biggest cost of death, and the largest component in shortening lifespans. It is the largest correlator for cancer and the largest correlator for heart disease. That's not my opinion. That's just the scientist's opinion. Given that, we endeavored to adjust on our plan what the cost of that was. And we have a full rate on our plan for each person. And if they apply, they can receive a $50 a month discount, not an increase, but a discount from the fully adjusted rate. We must pass along to our employees, pay a portion of ourselves to cover them. Those who don't smoke and therefore cost us less in health costs, as a cohort at least, maybe not individually, but as a cohort, they cost us less. They can apply for this discount. And those who want to join a cessation program can apply and receive a discount and successful at that. It is projected that we will save money in healthcare costs over time by doing this. Clearly, some things, weight, for instance, weight with some people is not necessarily a choice, but smoking with 100% of those who smoke is a choice. And given that, you've all heard the phrase, there is no safe cigarette, and there's no safe amount of daily cigarette use. There's no studies like with wine that it's good for them. So that was the thought, and it allows a discount for those who make that healthy choice. And to me, it's similar to the deep discount that we were able to negotiate this month with Texas Club. It's an effort to allow our employees a discount if they don't smoke, and encourage healthy lifestyles, which give us a healthier workforce, less absenteeism, and ultimately save the taxpayers money.
Judge,
But I did get the emails from people calling me nonsense. So I know there are key thoughts. I'm not telling you can't smoke. I'm just telling you get a discount.
One of my emails, I said, call me when you quit smoking, and let me know your progress.
Yeah.
She couldn't say it.
Just want to make sure. Well, there is another question. Is this the first step towards number steps, such as weight and everything else? And that's what some people want, And so it needs, is that where we're going to the county? We're going to have lifestyle plans. In other words, the more active you are, the more official body weight you are to ratio to height.
Commissioner, I think also in terms of us adopting this plan, a lot of it also is dictated by what's happening in the insurance industry and what is society basically willing to accept. And at this point, you have any number of insurance programs that are now charging more money for individuals who smoke. For the first time in their history, the state of Texas adopted the same type of program. That's not to say that eventually, in our culture, we might get to the point where we say, if you drink, we're going to charge you more money. If you're overweight, we're going to charge you more money. It's just that we're not there yet. And charging additional monies for smoking is not a new trend anymore. It's becoming more of the standard practice.
We're not charging for smoking, we're giving a discount for not smoking.
Well, it's the same. And so our thing is, and we're telling our employees, our thing is, we don't want your money. We want you to stop smoking. That's
I'll tell you from the PBC perspective, it's highly unlikely that we'll move to weight or even another thing for this reason. The PBC is a cooperative that covers Tarrant, Collin, Denton, and the surrounding counties as well as Dallas County. In order for us to have a program like this, We must pass it through the PEBC for any sorts of benefits before we can have those benefits as long as we stay in the PEBC. I think it's unlikely, based on discussions of other benefit changes we saw, that the PEBC would look with favor on that, even if we were to bring it up as far as the drinking or other way, and to bring it up. For those of you who occasionally have a drink and like me, have a little bit around the midsection, I don't plan on bringing it up. So you're probably, probably safe for a year or two.
But Ms. Taylor, one thing that I want you to mention for the listening audience and the people that watch us via internet, they have the opportunity right now, if you go into a smoking cessation program by January 1st, if you get the discount.
If you enter a smoking cessation program by January 1, if you show that you have gone through a certified program, you would not be charged the premium charge. And also, even after January 1, you have again until June 1, where you can basically go through the program, and we would actually allow you to change your premium cost. Usually, once we adopt a premium cost, the court sets the rate. That's the cost for the entire year. This year, we will allow employees to make changes to their premium in January 1 and then in June 1. Again, we don't want the money, we just want them to stop.
With health insurance, we want it to be a health insurance budget. It's great, so I would be supporting it. Studies show that the number of smokers continue to increase. Sadly, some of the numbers that we see among people, but I think this, like you say, is something that is going to happen when it comes to insurance coverage.
Item 3B recommends approval of the medical program accrual rates for retirees in calendar year 2012 and dental and vision rates for actives and retirees. Item 4, Public Works. 4A, approval of some informal agenda. 4B, recommends approval of the contract extension with Hat Associates for 120 days through January 29, 2012. Item 5, Planning and Development, recommends participation in the Cypress Waters TIP District as outlined in the briefing. And Commissioner, you had a question on that?
I just want to thank Mr. Losberg one more time for the work on this issue. Not only that, the briefing colleagues, if you have the chance to see it, it's an excellent briefing. Actually, Mr. Losberg put all the tips that Dallas County has been involved since the initiation of the tax income finance district's creation. Which one has been the best, which one has been the worst, and I have to tell you, colleagues, I'm excited because not only this is a tip that has extremely good potential of helping the tax base of Dallas County in the long term, but it will help not only Dallas, but help another. I believe it will be a help for the whole county. So I'm excited about this. Thank you again to all the parties involved, and hopefully this for you too. Thank you.
Just one question. Who's responsible for removing that power plant?
I believe, Commissioner, the way I believe it's the power plant operator.
So it's not the
whoever it is that operates.
It's not going to be TIF funds.
No, it's not the TIF funds. No, the utility is responsible for removing that.
Thank you. And any remediation.
Correct.
Item 6, Budget. 6A, you have your Congress travel training request. 6B, hiring freeze accepted in the county clerk. JP12, tax assessor collector, district clerk. 14th Civil District Court, Operations Services Communications Division. Item 6C, budget is not recommending continuing funding for 3 positions in the district attorney's office affected by the loss of grant funding for those positions. Item 6.
I have a question on this item. The reason we're saying this is, Mr. Monroe, is because I really believe these positions are extremely important. And
may I address this?
Please.
Several years ago, the federal government passed the Violence Against Women Act and established a series of pass-through grants to local agencies, local law enforcement entities. 2 of these grants in the Dallas County District Attorney's Office we applied for, and I'm going to start with the lowest level person, which is the legal secretary page. This person works in the protective order court, meeting with victims women who are victims of domestic abuse, assist them in preparing their paperwork to get a protective order. The grant itself is a grant that required a 33% match, which meant the county was already picking up 1/3 of the cost of this particular position. As a result, it was a seed money grant with the intention that the county pick it up at some point. The grant terminated August 31st. The district attorney's office will not have a resource available for that particular position, so that when women come in, they will not have somebody there to help them get a protective order. The second position, which is an investigator 1 position, once again, it's a 33% match that the county had been paying for several years. This investigator was assigned to County Criminal Court 10 and 11 and was responsible for contacting witnesses, serving subpoenas, and bringing witnesses to court on domestic violence, family violence cases, especially for cases for trial. Once again, we won't have the ability to answer that need, and it potentially could cause the jail population to increase as those cases take longer to come to court. The third and last position was the attorney 4, which is a felony level attorney in the DA's office, assigned to the grand jury, doing grand jury intake on family violence cases, meeting with the local police agencies, the police departments, and evaluating and bringing cases to the grand jury, determining which cases are truly valid family violence cases, which ones are not. And once again, the removal of this position could potentially cause the jail cost to increase. We've asked for the funding for this. It affects the DA's office in the future as we make grant applications. One of the questions that we're always asked is, on the continuation grant, did your entity pick up the funding once that grant terminated? Answering no will cause negative ratings on our future grant applications. So we're asking the county to pick up the other 2/3 of the cost. The county had been paying 1/3 of the cost.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
You got something, Mark? You got something you want to say? So you can say it.
Keith, do you have anything you wanted to say?
That hurts.
Just want to explain the
Yes, I go ahead.
Go ahead.
Give your name for the
My
record.
name is Tammy Kemp. I'm the administrative chief of child abuse and family violence. And there are a couple of things that I wanted to point out to the commissioners this morning. First of all, the grand jury intake position that we've had for the past 2 years came about because of changes in legislation that greatly increased the felony family violence cases that we had. We had the impeding breathing cases that previously may have been misdemeanors that became felonies. And now we have the continuing family violence where one or 2 or more misdemeanor offense committed within a 12-month period is in fact can be indicted as a felony. So in the past 2 years, those cases greatly increased our demand for family violence intake services. We currently have 3 prosecutors that handle simply family violence cases. We have 1 young lady who does the misdemeanors. We have 2 young ladies who do felony intake. But one of the lessons that we learned this summer from the state jail felony unit was we reprioritized our attention to the family violence cases in an effort to, 1, provide greater services to our victims, 2, get an offer to defense counsel as quickly as possible, and 3, possibly eliminate cases in 3 defendants who might have been held in the jail who really didn't have offenses. So what we did was totally revamp the intake process for felony cases. What we've done is to adopt some of the state jail units' efforts. Prior to the cases becoming indicted, we have advocates who contact them. Our family violence intake attorney works with her. We bring the victims down to the grand jury court, and that does 2 things for us. If in fact it didn't happen as the police believe, she can tell the grand jury that. If it did happen as we believe, she can tell the grand jury that, and we have her testimony, which helps us to move our cases down the line. with the demands that we have now and the other increases and the changes in the law, there isn't someone who can take up this additional docket. There isn't a person in intake right now who could take an additional docket and transition that on Thursday mornings as this person has been doing. And we have, for the past 2 or 3 weeks, with Mr. Harris and Mr. Watkins, been trying to look at how to revamp. And actually, we don't see a way that we can without significantly impacting the victims as well as the defendants who might have been wrongfully accused of a felony offense. And we really implore you to reconsider taking these positions away from us. And I wanted to add that misdemeanor secretary that Lincoln spoke about, she does several other things, one of which is Dallas County last year adopted a policy where they only hold 911 tapes for 30 days. So as soon as that secretary gets the files, she makes the written request to Dallas Police Department to save that 911 tape, which oftentimes is our most crucial piece of evidence. If she's taken away, we don't have someone to undertake that vital service. So I just want to implore you. And our investigator, he works 2 courts. We could use 3 investigators, but we are making do with 1. So we want to implore you to reconsider and please fund those positions.
Candy, thank you.
I'm sorry, I was talking a little fast.
Your explanation was very helpful. And the 911, that is very important.
And I appreciate the way you, Mr. Rogers, Mr. Harris, and Mr. Benjamin has worked on all of these.
I can remind that.
It's like me, I'm okay. But the problem, and I think Budget did this at the beginning of our session, we talked about the number of needs. And if we get to, and I don't know, millions of dollars. And if we get to try and absorb these grants, everybody's going to be able to make a case. And again, I'm not minimizing because you guys have made all the difference. And in fact, you as much as your department, as much as anyone, has probably helped us, balance this budget in terms of the kind of issues. But when you start talking about $100 million worth of grant positions, and then it's just not your departments, it's across the county, out of almost $600 million to $400 million, we got $100 million of grants.
But, sir, one of the most vital things that we have to demonstrate when we seek a grant is the need. If the need were not there, the grant would not be awarded.
I understand.
And so where does the need go?
But when you take, and we've been contributing at a 1/3 level, and let's just do the base math. You got $100 million, and all of a sudden now you expect to pick up 2 things. Where do those dollars come from?
I think in this instance, these dollars come from the savings that may happen should the jail population increase. You have seen what a targeted effort can do with the state jail unit. And now what you want to do is we've taken 2 steps forward and we're going to take a step backwards because we still have the need. This young lady that intakes these felony cases, she has a docket every week. She's, it's not willy-nilly. Every week she has a docket. The typical grand jury intake docket in front of the grand juries takes anywhere from 9 to about 11:30 or 12. Every Tuesday and Thursday, our family violence prosecutors are there until 2, sometimes 3:30, because we have to bring these victims in. That's just the long and short of it. There is no other way. And we also find out this week that the Dallas Police Department is revamping how they want to file cases with us. They want to take away the investigator that used to double check and verify whether or not an offense has taken place. And now they want to just do direct file straight from the patrol officer to our office. So we're going to be inundated again with additional cases, and we can't come to some agreement with them on how to better serve the citizens of Dallas County. In the grand scheme of things, we're asking you for about $225,000. I know it's a lot of money, but someone has to be there to service these women, and sometimes men. I don't want to be sexist. Someone has to service them.
I think Commissioner Cantrell had something, and then Commissioner. No, sorry.
You know, when I first came in office, I supported wholeheartedly the executive order rapid response team. We consolidated everything and started up the program. So I support the program 100%. Problem that you have with the state budget for next year, with the federal budget, with what's going to take place on grant funding, we're talking $100 billion. And this court has to philosophically come to a decision. Do we step up and fund everything that the federal government or the state government refuses to fund? In other words, a lot of these positions are there that would have never been created through the normal process that we have through our budgetary process. So, you know, it's going to be incumbent upon the district attorney to look at all the dollars that are in his hot check funds and the dollars that he has in his forfeiture funds and decide, is it better to spend $48,000 on what we just approved today, or is it better to put that money over and have a full-time person or even a part-time person doing the things that may go away? Those are discussions that the DA and Mr. Harris and all of them are going to have to make. But it's going to be very difficult, in my opinion. We had $38 million shortfall this year. We were able to close that. We're looking at $27 million for next year. And if what happens at the state and federal level, we really dodged the bullet this year at the state level. We're not going to be able to do that next year. So all of these grant funded positions, you know, the state always runs out and does just a little bit, and then they start backing away because they want to get us hooked, and then they want us to take over their primary responsibility. And our taxpayers are having to pay that through property taxes instead of the way it should be funded at the state level and be spread across the state. So, you know, it's going to be difficult for me to support that without a detailed analysis of looking at what's coming down the pike and how does the district attorney plan on dealing with it. Because at the sheriff's department level and at the DA's level, that's some of the main grants that we have dealing with public safety. So you can't piecemeal. You can't come in and say, well, these three are important because next week 3 more are going to be important, and the next week 5 more will be important. There's no way to keep up with that. You know, how does it fit in with CJB on their grants? You know, DOJ, the whole shoot match. We've got to have a plan, and this isn't the way to do it. It needs to go through. If we're going to fund it, it needs to go through our budget process and be part of it, because we've got to prioritize and make sure we fund what needs to be funded. So, and that's all.
Next, and then Dr. Z.
I think Commissioner Cantrell has a very good point. We need to look at the totality of it and not just piecemeal. Today, for instance, how does that stack up with what you're talking about? We've got to prioritize. And certainly when we do prioritize, we have to look at the neediest of people in our society, which are women and children. We have to protect them, and public safety should always come first. And I think that's what the Dallas community wants, loud and clear, is public safety, and especially for the neediest, the elderly, the children, and the abused spouses. And I commend what you're doing. Thank you both for coming down here today.
Thank you, Judge. I hear my colleagues. Definitely, one of the things that we have been planning is, work really hard to go against budget issues that we know is important to us. In this case, if I understood correctly, to Mr. Lincoln Monroe, the reason this is coming to the court right now is for them to start looking into different ways of getting sick money. And I understand the work you do is important. And as the former chair of the Domestic Violence Task Force, I will help in any way I can to keep these two positions funded. And definitely this is a time, like some of my colleagues have said, to put our heads together and start seeing different ways to be sure that we get the funding for the positions that the district attorney is going to classify as the most important. And I'm pretty sure you will be among those. Nobody thought that the state felony court program will work, and we'll make it work, right? And hopefully we'll see some of those savings, and we'll be able to find another way to produce another program that will be a public-private partnership from the VA and commissioners court that will manage the system. So I'm optimistic that we're starting early on to talk about those positions that are important for our county, and we'll definitely will have nice work.
$74 to the Homeless Prevention Rapid Rehousing Program. This allows us to finalize something that we don't want to push into next year, otherwise it will cost about $5,000.
We have Trina Crosby here today on the truancy court briefing. I think we need a briefing on those two schools. Trina, you're doing a great job, and thank you for the shout out.
Judge, if there's nothing else on miscellaneous information, that concludes the briefing agenda. You do have speakers listed.
Okay. Now, you're our first speaker. You can be right. Stay like that.
Judge, you allow the bailiff to read the rules.
Before you get started, as a matter of course, we always have our bailiffs read the rules. So bailiff, will you please read the rules for public speakers?
All Commissioners Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of the Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visitors and registered speakers are to present order in decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all applause is to be kept brief in observance of time constraints. Disruptive visitors and/or registered speakers may be removed and are subject to the penalties provided in the State of Texas Penal Code, Sections 38.13, 42.01, 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and the maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
Ms. Kemp, please go ahead and state your name and address.
Crystal Campbell, Buckner, Dallas, Texas.
That's fine.
I am here today to ask for help in getting the right to equal access to the courts. The courts are now screening all of the informa pauperis people, and they're screening unfairly because all of us are not possibly able to be eliminated. Recently, there was an article in the New Orleans Times-Picayune about a clerk, Gerald Peterson, of the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, who committed suicide after writing a very detailed letter about a conspiracy of Dallas judges to deprive people of access to appeal. It turns out that whether you are a person who is informa pauperis or whether you paid the appeal and you're pro se, if they put pro se or IFP at the edge of your brief, it will be collected, put on the side, and summarily dismissed. Mr. Peterson said that $4.5 million a year is stolen from indigent filers this way. Their briefs are not even read, let alone screened. They're just tossed on the side and the money taken from them, and they never had a chance to come before any court. This will affect every one of your districts. Anyone who is poor or pro se is being denied equal access to the court. I believe that access to the court is a civil right, and it's the same as a voting right. It's just too big a right to be denied to anybody. The court system started with the ancient Greeks, who actually taught children how to defend a court case when courts were designed. But here in Texas, Judge Hearing Means passed a law making it illegal to publish any book that tells a pro se how to file a case in federal court. And I don't understand how the First Amendment doesn't protect publication of any type of book. But this knowledge is being withheld from people, and they're using the withholding of the knowledge to summarily dismiss all the cases because you come up and you're bound to make a mistake if you're not a lawyer. And the smallest mistake, your case is thrown out. If you happen to figure out how to go around it. You hear from other people. Look, if you go down to SMU, there's a law library. You can study the forms. You might be able to get in, but somewhere along the line, your case is going to be dismissed on technicality. And according to Mr. Gerald Peterson, this was happening at a rate of 100%. Thank you.
And thank you for your comments. I want you to understand that to the extent that there's anything we can do when we hear from folks, we try to look into that. But Terry Means is a federal judge, and even the state court of appeals that covers Dallas and the surrounding counties, that does not fall within our purview. You're welcome to use your 3 minutes to talk to us about that, but this is one of those instances where there is truly nothing I can do for you on your concern. But thank you for coming.
I do that, and I'm just hoping that any of you might help me appreciate
Thank you. Our next, and as far as that goes, if you need some information, ma'am, see Jennifer Ward in my office. If you have this constituency service request, and there is something we can do to point you to a resource, although that is out. What you're talking about is outside the purview of this office. You can see Jennifer Ward in my office and for constituency service, and she'll see what you can do to help. Okay? And that's Lauren Mitch there with my office can get you or contact. Our next speaker is Mr. David S. Gusselman. Talk to Chief Constable or anyone yet, Mr. Gusselman? Officer, have you had a chance to talk to the sheriffs or anyone about the traffic since 5:30 last night?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Go ahead, sir. Yeah, please state your name and address.
My name is David Goslin. My address is 5736 Georgia Way, Brantford. We're talking about traffic. Good morning, Judge and County Commissioners. My name is David Goslin. I have been an employee of the Sheriff's Office for approximately 14.5 years. I'm currently a deputy sheriff assigned to the traffic division. I'm also the vice president of Dallas Sheriff Fraternal Order of Police, Lodge 85, and I'm here representing the lodge and all of my members. I would like to talk about the Sheriff's Office Traffic Division. I understand that Michael Morris from North Central Texas Council on Governments, or COG, previously provided a PowerPoint to this court with collected statistics and data about the traffic division. I do not feel it's necessary for me to stand here and repeat his findings. I do, however, would like to point out some of the highlights he provided and talk about the many benefits of keeping traffic division in operation. Since its inception, traffic division has reduced crashes on all the major highways. The main reason we are able to do this, all deputies, once they have completed their field training, are required to attend a freeway quick clearance school put on by COG. They are also required to complete and successfully pass, at a minimum, an intermediate accident investigation class. We have over 150 accident investigators currently in my department, including supervisors. Compare this number to the Dallas Police Department, which currently has 33 accident investigators for their entire department. Having this many accident investigators allows for us to clear an incident much faster than any other police department in the Dallas area. Our average incident clearance time for a major accident is 33 minutes. For Dallas Police Department to clear the exact same major incident is 90 minutes. The reduced clearance times add up to an economic impact of $95 million for an average annual mobility benefit to the Dallas area. Before the Sheriff's Office Traffic Division took over the highways for the city of Dallas, it was not uncommon for Dallas Fire Department to wait up to an hour and a half for the arrival of the first unit from DPD. Now upon arrival with our traffic division, several deputies will swarm the incident location, using their traffic vehicles to push any disabled vehicles out of lanes of traffic, opening the highway, and releasing DFD from the scene. This allows DFD to return to their stations and be available for calls of service instead of having to use equipment and personnel from a further station. The quicker clearance times have also had a positive effect on air quality in Dallas County. Yesterday, Chief Brown of the Dallas Police Department was quoted by the Dallas Morning News saying overall crime is down compared to this time last year. With the Sheriff's Traffic Division enforcing laws on the highway and working the accidents, this allows the police departments to keep their officers on patrol in the neighborhoods and business districts. Dallas Police Department Patrol Division is short with personnel. They are currently using detectives to fill patrol spots.
Thank you. Well, first of all, Mr. Goodman, I don't know if you're the gentleman I spent about 15, 20 minutes talking to or not. At the end of the day, it's no different than what we just said about the district attorney's office. We got to make some decisions. Come October 1st, or October 2nd, get $27 million in the red. Nothing we've done differently. The value is not. We're $27 million in the hole. And $6 million that's historically been traffic. Dealt with the auditor and got some numbers and talked the other day. But, at the end of the day, if you talk about traffic, how do we fund it? It's a $6 million deal. And even I found budget director's numbers to be a little quirky. I still don't understand it. I don't understand what's on the table right now, and I guess what the judge is talking about. I saw his email last night. It's basically a 23.5% cut, 23.5% cut with regards to their department. And that's with $1.5 million contribution from COG, $1 million from the city, $500,000 from the county. As I said, I don't understand those numbers because those numbers say 50% to me. So I don't know how you get 23.5%. 50%, $3 million. So
that $6 million is only the deficit part, not the total cost.
I understand. But 60 is what we're trying to go.
And it's going to have to do with, built into the sheriff's office budget was some additional DSOs in the George Allen jail. And so we're going to have to leverage those. We've done very good on our jail population, and we just have to hope that we can continue to be doing very well. That will allow us to offset some of that decrease so that it won't be the full 50%.
So it just took him 23, and I think that's what I explained to him the other day. That it's because the sheriff's department, it was not a flat 50%, it's 23.5%. But at the end of the day, we just got to figure out how we're going to fund all of this. Over the last 5 years, Dallas County has lost $33 million worth of revenues. Dollars. It's not coming back.
I understand, but at the same point, we are a self-liquidating division.
No, sir. Not even.
We're not writing enough fines?
No, not even close. Not even close. I'm glad you brought that.
Different numbers than I got.
It's the difference between what is written and what is a collectible.
Collectible.
We talked about that again. You have to remember, every time you have a defensive driving or a deferred adjudication, there's no fines, so you get no fine revenues. You get whatever the court cost is, and you get then send 40% of that court cost to the state, so we get roughly $50 on those type of tickets. $50 you just can't pay for the officer, you can't pay for the vehicle, you can't pay for the JP court, you just can't cover all those costs at that type of a revenue flow.
I agree 100%. I mean, until policies change the DA's office and the JP courts, that's how it's going to be.
But even if they change the policies, I mean, we're seeing we're diverting every day 80 to 110 people to community service. They can't pay the fine. Unfortunately, not this court, but the prior court basically dislodged and disassembled the only program whereby we were on par with collections. That's the only one. 8% overall of all the citations y'all write, 8% are the only ones who fully pay the total. Other than that, the numbers are not there. And so, even with 23%, and again, what the sheriff has done with regards to managing that population, when you look at these numbers and look at the money we have to send to the state, it's not funded. We can't fund it. And of course, the core responsibility of the sheriff's department is the chief jail, not traffic. And that's the city. We tried to assemble a plan whereby we try to show the cities how they can leverage. I've got one of my cities, and I won't call the name. 3 incidents. We asked them for $48,000. If they were 3 accidents, it would cost them more than $48,000. They said they want to introduce one of the smaller cities on the freeway.
Yeah, that's where the service is going to stop taking place now, apparently, is the southern sectors because they can't afford the service.
No, I understand. But, you know, other southern sector cities, I think that was why.
Yeah,
Nothing. That was it. But you know, I mean, it's not there. It's unfortunately, you know.
Yeah, and let me say, because I negotiated the deal for that hopefully this bill will pass. I have the utmost respect for the work you all are doing. Your traffic is enforcement is second to none in the state. You do a fantastic job. I would disagree that some of those cities cannot afford that. The city offers from several cities was zero for traffic enforcement. But clearly, they can afford that because when a wreck happens on their roads, their officers are now going to be pulled from the neighborhoods, and they're going to go out and deal with that instead of doing neighborhood policing. But those are the decisions that those cities make. And if we believe in allowing local government to make choices, those are decisions that they've made. As we look at this on a go-forward basis, we simply cannot afford to lose $6 million a year to do the city of Dallas and other cities' core function duties that they are constitutionally and statutorily required to perform. That's why we worked with them and we negotiated for this length of time. And I regret the uncertainty that our officers had during that time, because you guys are doing a phenomenal job. But if we did not change the way that this was done, we just couldn't afford to do it. And now with the city of Dallas paying a share and RTC paying a share, the program is essentially funded in 23% less, but it's funded for next year. Now we've got to find a way in the coming years to keep this vital and important program going. And what I'm going to focus on for next year, along with Michael Morris, and we've already started talking about setting up meetings, is lowering that delta between the cost of the program and what the program brings in. You hit upon, frankly, an important point, and that is collections cannot resolve this entire delta, but increased collections can shrink this delta, and that's got to be something that we find a way to work together on, because I think our average, you may know, but for the officer, I got this number from Lupe Valdez and it shocked me. We've got an officer out there on the side of the road. Cars are whizzing past him at 70 miles an hour. He's risking his life to write this ticket. People don't realize that those tickets and that traffic flow keep bad accidents from happening. Accidents where children are killed. Accidents where people are maimed. He's out there risking his life. And the average on every ticket he writes, what was it, $19 is what we're averaging collecting on that, because so many of these tickets are deferred or finding some other way to not be paid. And that's a real problem, because I agree, you guys are doing exactly what you need to be doing. And we've just got to find every way that we can to support you and to support this program. But what we can't do is ask our taxpayers to foot the whole bill for other government entities to do this job. Because let's face it, when you're in Dallas or Duncanville or wherever you are, you're essentially doing their job for them.
I agree.
Virginia, when you ask you for a spreadsheet on these fines that often goes and talks about, what has been the trend in terms of our collection?
It does, from the review that I did just last week, it does appear the trend has increased somewhat. We have about collected within a year about 33% for FY11. I believe that was about 30% in FY10. So we have improved collections, but there is still the dismissed, the deferred driving, those that are not paid.
There's some people that can't afford to pay the ticket, but I would argue ultimately this is up to the judge to the side, but it's a choice to speed. And I've sped before, I've had to pay a ticket. It's a choice to speed, and it's a judge's choice to give deferred adjudication. But hopefully we'll do less of that and more collection, because we'll keep in mind the need for this program. If this program goes away, then neighborhood police are going to be pulled from the neighborhoods to go out and work traffic. And our crime rate that's gone down 8 years in a row may not go down next year. And people are going to be injured in wrecks, and air quality is, we're going to have traffic jams, air quality is going to get worse. This is a very important program. If people want to support this program, I see a former JP out there. The way to do that is to hold folks accountable for the choices that they make and have them pay their tickets. Thank you for coming. Yes, sir.
I don't have the impression that deferred adjudication is not a good thing. Matter of fact, if deferred is handled correctly by a court, you'll have a better collection rate on every case if they have deferred.
Because it's $30.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's incumbent upon the judge. If you look at all the different cities in our region, when they grant deferred adjudication, normally the administrative fee is higher than the actual fine. And that is, and people are willing to pay it because it keeps it off the record. So, and that's what everybody asks for now. The legislature gave JPs the authority to grant deferred adjudication, and if it was used correctly, it would be a very beneficial thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
I have a little bit different point of view, and that is when the freeway goes through, let's say Duncanville and some other cities, I feel that that's really not incumbent on those cities, because freeways to me are roads that are shared by all the people of Dallas County. There's roads that are shared by the public, and I personally don't see them as a responsibility of that particular town. I think it behooves us all, because all of us use the freeways. Not all of us go in every little city in Dallas County, but we all use the freeway. And so I think that needs to be a public sharing rather than looked at as an individual responsibility of that city. Just my perhaps contrarian point of view.
Well, I like to comment on that because most of these cities are in the South Dallas area. So when you're funding a $6 million shortfall each year, then that, if we're not willing to put the program countywide, then the cities in North Dallas that I represent are subsidizing that traffic program for those cities in the southern center. So when you talk about equity, I certainly don't see equity there, and it is that responsibility of those. Well, once again, you go back to most of these are state freeways, and it's the state's obligation, but they don't pick that up, so it falls within the cities within that jurisdiction.
Well, I do agree with you on your point. I mean, it'd be great for us to go there. We'll do that.
Because we can't sustain another $6 million hit.
But we can make it fair to take over all the freeways in Dallas County.
Well, I don't mind shifting that program to the north and not doing it in the south, and then we'll make up for having years we've had that money. So.
Well, and just for the record, Commissioner Cantrell, when it started, the north side of the city didn't like it. That's what it was.
We've signed up. We've been in the queue for, Sheriff, how many years? 4, 5, 6. I mean, we've waited. Sure. We've been subsidizing, but we haven't gotten anything on the north side.
Well, with that being said, it started as a pilot.
I understand.
It just happened to be the chair of public safety when this happens. And I have to say that the sheriff department has done an outstanding job.
Absolutely. But it was a major benefit to the city.
Definitely.
Major benefit.
Definitely.
That county taxpayers pay for across the county. Not the city of Dallas.
No, you're totally
Not just the city of Dallas.
I think the city of Dallas had a great deal.
Absolutely.
As a commissioner, I recognize that. And as a
Yeah,
council
they had an
representative, we hit bingo. But I do understand exactly what you're saying. It's about paying for the program, and I think the time has come for everybody to come to the table and pay the fair share. And I just want to comment. I know these negotiations have not been easy, and I want to commend everybody that has everybody involved, including Judge Jenkins, because he has done a tremendous job. We want to say, hey, you just get out. At this point, I think that everybody understands the importance of clean air, traffic, and of course, what it costs for every municipality. And we're going to try to get everybody to pay and hopefully pay their share. That is going to be the $6 million? No, I do not think so. There's going to be some cuts. But the fact that we will keep some of the traffic unit going with the sheriff department for the fantastic job that you have done, I hope that that's on the table. And Judge, thank you so much. With Michael Morris, Mary Sue, and everybody that has come in good faith to say, how can we do this work? And I think your point about crime is extremely on point. The reality is we have help. The crime in the city of Dallas and other municipalities allow us to come down. Why? Because we play as a team. It's time now for everybody to come to the table and continue to play as a team. So thank you for being here. Thank you, Judge.
As you said, we don't have a phone.
It is, I'll put 300
Close when it comes to I'll make a bold prediction in front of these TV cameras. Although it's 500 that I'm asking you for, we will close that delta next year, and I'll get it down to 300. It'll be 300 or less by the time we increase these collections, because I'm confident that we are going to increase these collections because I believe in our justice system and their ability to raise these collections. Keep talking about the importance of raising these collections. And have some ideas on that too. Donald Spees and Jim Rodriguez, I don't think are here today. So our last speaker is, so you heard the in-person, folks, 300,000, that's all it's going to cost. Miss Evelyn and Miss Evelyn Jones. Miss Evelyn Jones in, please. Oh, and one last thing on that track, just so you guys understand, this didn't just give away some of your money. Now, we were at 360, and the deal last night was we would do 50 cents for every dollar Dallas put in. When they were at zero, they came up with $1 million. That's why we're asking for $500,000. So, hey, last year, before WRC and I got here, y'all were $6 million in the hole for 6 years. So this is a group.
No pressure.
With a tax increase. Now this year we balanced no tax increase. Luis Sepulveda, yes sir. No, sorry, sir, we're up here going back and forth. Didn't mean to disrespect you. You are our last speaker, and sir, good to see you, Judge. Just let's take your name and your address and go ahead.
My name is Judge Luis Diane Sepulveda, 5105 Goodman in Dallas. Matter of fact, I live in Dallas all my life. We continue to tell everybody that they've got to do the right thing. I go to school when I was a judge, and I would tell them that if you do the right thing, you follow the right thing, the procedures, that you'll become somebody and you'll be able to come in and get things done properly and done right. I was here last year, pretty well in January, somewhere about talking about election fraud. Well, I've pretty well proven my point. Medrano has been indicted on 2 other counts. I understand that there's 5. Okay. That there's also going to be other indictments coming behind me.
Moment, sir. Under our speaking rules, we don't allow personal statements and personal things about any individual elected official, either on this body or somewhere else. If you want to speak locally about election fraud without mentioning your former opponent, that's all good. Go ahead.
There were some of the indictments that have been passed down already, and more that are coming by the district attorney's office. Well, I came in and I took the office. As a matter of fact, I'm here, born here, raised here in Dallas, went to J.P. Allen, went to Thomas Edison, Sequoia, to Pinkston, and graduated from Tech. So I'm family of mine, so my parents continue to tell me the values of the importance of coming in and going to school and doing the things that you're supposed to do that are right. Well, we came in and ran a campaign, and the campaign came up, and now they came in and found the individual to have done fraud in 2 counts. A lot of people don't know that the family themselves were the ones that came to me and told me that this fraud was going on. I was fixing to give the office to the individual, tell him congratulations, he won. But they said, don't do it right quick. We'll stand with you. We want to show you what exactly they've done in the election with the fraud that was going on. So I followed the fraud that was going on. I prepared, I came in, I've been serving in that office for 10 years. I never had anything before the ethics. I submitted in all my reports that I needed to be submitted in. I did community service all over in this area of letting them know what was going on in our community. I also came in and gave a lot of my money to the area. I was accused that I had taken furniture from the area. I spent $10,000 on my own furniture. I bought my own carpet. I bought my own drapes. I came in and put my own blinds. I came in and bought 3 American flags and I put them out there. I came in and bought watch clocks for the court. So I came in and had all that. The only thing they were upset is because all the files were placed in the judge's chamber. Well, I had to move all the refrigerators that belonged to me, the microwave, the tables, the food of the employees, all the utensils that were all given to the homeless. But again, I'm telling you, since this gentleman has to resign, you have the right to do the right thing. Since I am prepared, I do have the school. I've been there for 10 years as experience. To be placed back in this way, this gentleman is disqualified at this time. So that makes me the candidate, and that makes me the individual to take this position, since there was fraud, and this position was stolen from me. It was not taken, it was stolen. Judge Jenkins, in your election, you wouldn't have to have done the runoff. You were automatically the winner. All this fraud that came in, all these votes, just look, it's not exactly what you lost on. Thank you very much, gentlemen and ladies. Thank you, Commissioner.
All right. One comment on that I want to make sure folks are clear on. It's my understanding, although we have not received, unless we received it this morning, we have not received a letter from the Commission on Judicial Conduct, but it's my understanding from conversations with people in charge that one of our judges has been placed on leave with pay. That being the case, I don't have the authority to declare a vacancy and call an election. Either I or the Commissioners Court, and somebody needs to look that up as to who does it, does have the authority to appoint someone, but we can't do that until we receive a letter from the Judicial Conduct Commission. Why it's taking so long, I don't know. Once that's done, either this court or me, whoever it is, will do the due diligence. This court, the court will do the due diligence and will appoint a person to handle that until the Judicial Conduct Commission resolves the matter. If the Judicial Conduct Commission resolves the matter in such a way that there's a vacancy, we'll call for a permanent vacancy. We'll call for a special election. But the reason we've not acted thus far is because we cannot act thus far. We're still waiting on them to send us the document that triggers our actions.
He's got
We want to ship the next election.
Well, we will.
That's exactly right.
I'm going to suggest that when we do this appointment, that we do it through December 31st, because we've got floating JP and Sandra Ellis starting on January 1.
You're talking about just a temporary appointment.
I'm talking about what I contemplate will happen is I contemplate that the letter they promised will arrive, and then we will seek to appoint someone until Sandra Ellis no longer has a bench, in which case remember that Ms. Ellis is being paid through the 31st of January 12. So then it'll hopefully we will send her in that direction on January 1 through the rest. Otherwise, taxpayers paying 2 people. But having said all, I don't know if that's appropriate to necessarily say since it's not on the agenda, but I'm just responding to you because you're applying for the job as to how, it sounds like you're applying for the job as to how we're going to go forward on that once we get a letter that hopefully they'll be sitting sent.
I hope they'll consider somebody bilingual too. Consider somebody bilingual. This is necessary.
Right. And the reason that I lean towards, just to be transparent, the reason I lean the reason I lean towards Ms. Ellis is because we're already paying her. The taxpayers are already paying her but that would be from January 1 forward. We've got this time period, if we get the letter today, from today until midnight on December 31st, that we got to deal with it. All right, I think that's it, right?
Right.
Thank you very much. We've got closed session. Of course, now we can move to public session. Chapter 5.